ladies and gentlemen, to another installment of What's in the Box. Before we get to the box, I have to kind of address something. I'm going to be real brief on this. For those of you who've been following my channel, for about the last 4 or 5 days, I've been in the hospital. I'm finally home. I'm absolutely happy about that, and at this moment, I would like to thank all of you who sent your messages and you left your comments. You guys are fucking amazing, and those comments, those messages, they actually made the whole, hospital stay a little bit less irritating, let's say. Anyway, I really don't want to dwell on that, because when I got home from the hospital, I was surprised to see on the big stack of mail that had built up was this month's Comic Bento. Yes, guys, I'm actually kind of surprised I got this month's Comic Bento this month, because this is a company who's known for being tardy with their boxes. Oftentimes you don't see, your box until like the 3rd or the 4th of the following month. So I'm happy that it showed up early. I think it probably got here like Friday, so it's been sitting here for quite a while. Now, I know that the theme to this month is Gnarly 90s, which basically tells me it's going to be nothing but old 90s books. Dear God, I really hope that there's nothing from fucking Valiant. I still look at that big pile of Valiant books, and I get more and more frustrated with it. Well, we've got the little air pouch. I've been playing with that. I'm also trying not to look in the box, because this is supposed to be a blind thing, and of course they put the whole thing in a giant bag, so at least the cardboard here covers that. Where the hell's my knife? So I can cut into this bastard and see what we got. Well, I can tell right now there's about 4 books in there. I can just see the tops of them here. Thank God I'm not looking at the spines. Come on, you little bastard. Come out. Come on. Ah, Jesus Christ. Okay, so this bag's a bit of a pain in the ass. Again, Bento. Just saying, I totally understand the whole, in case it rains and whatnot, you want the books to be safe, but, I really don't think it has to be this, this much of a pain in the ass to get into your shit. Alright, let me do that. Also, I do have a shitload of comics I do have to cover, because as is the way whenever I do Comic Bento, I always take a look at like the stuff I've had a chance to read that came in previous Comic Bentos. Now that I've got the comics out, I've got them in here, I haven't seen any of them. Let's see. Oh, we've also got the card. I'll throw that over there, because I don't want anything spoiled yet. So let's see what the Gnarly 90s Comic Bento gives us. Up first is, of course, because they have to tie into the what is almost certainly going to be called the greatest Marvel movie ever, simply on the grounds that it's the new one. We have Doctor Strange, The Flight of Bones. I'm going to tell you guys, I've never read a lot of Doctor Strange. So, like, half of this is in black and white, half of it's in color. That's different. Some of this art looks a bit too new to be 90s. I thought the theme was Gnarly 90s. I would almost swear on that. Does this tell me what... Okay, collecting Doctor Strange in 1999. Okay, so this is late 90s. For some reason my mind was set on, early 90s. Well, now I have a chance to read a little bit of Doctor Strange that wasn't that story in that Days of Future Past book. God, that story was kind of shit. But then again, that's because the whole of the day, well, most of the Days of Future Past book was kind of crap. What do we got next? We have, Jesus, fuck, Valiant. I should just... Oh, no, correction, this isn't Valiant. Wow, the side of it, the side of the book looked a lot like a Valiant spine. No, this actually is from Dynamite and Gold Key. Never mind, I'm going to fucking draw my complaint. Actually, no, because this was originally published by Valiant, so I have every right to bitch. It's Turok Dinosaur Hunter. I believe this was during the Valiant era of Turok. Let me see if they've got like a list here. I'm going to tell you guys, I was never really into Turok much. Come on, you've got to have a list of what you're reprinting here. No, this volume collects issues 1 through 4 of Turok Dinosaur Hunter by Dynamite Entertainment. Dynamite Entertainment was not a thing back in the 90s. Why that thing is in the Gnarly 90s box, I will never understand. I'm also not a big fan of Turok. I've tried reading the old comics. I'm talking old as in like from the 60s when it was Turok Son of Stone. I tried reading the Valiant Turok, Dinosaur Hunter comics. I wasn't even a fan of the Turok video games much. So that book's probably not going to go read. What's next? We've got, oh man, This would have been so awesome if I didn't already own it. The Mask Strikes Back. You see, guys, I gave up on trying to buy the individual mask trades because certain ones are a pain in the ass to find. So I spent quite a bit of money getting both of the Dark Horse omnibus volumes of The Mask, which collects most of the Mask stories, minus like crossovers and all of that. So I already have this book. I'm going to tell you, though, that The Mask Strikes Back, if memory serves, this was the second story arc? No, wait, it's the third story arc. I'm sorry, this is the third Mask story arc. Amazing stuff, though. It is a fantastic book. I'm definitely going to find somebody who really wants this thing, because as much as I like it, I don't need it. And that honestly is more of a personal issue to me. And if I didn't already own it, this thing would be fucking amazing. The Mask is one of the most fascinating books to ever come out of the 1990s. And frankly, after seeing this, I almost want to grab those 2 fucking omnibus volumes and read them again. Which is weird, because I just finished those like 2 months ago or so. 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Alright, so what's the final book? Final book is a hardcover. I can feel that much. Alright, what is it? It is... Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, it's Valiant, it's Shadow Man. I've never cared for Shadow Man, don't fucking care. Comic Bento, I'm just going to tell you right now, ever since you did that fan favorite month and you gave nothing but fucking Valiant books, claiming that it fits the theme because you're fans of Valiant, some of us aren't, okay? Valiant Comics is not that good a publisher, okay? In fact, I'm going to be proving that point a little bit in just a second. The very fact that now we have a hardcover classic Shadow Man, this probably covers, what, like the first 4 issues? Maybe? No, this collects Shadow Man 0 through 7 and Dark Passages number 1, so at least it's 8 issues. If I'm not mistaken, that will probably include the Shadow Man Aerosmith crossover. I think that was within the first 7 issues. Yeah, they crossed over with Aerosmith for an issue for reasons. You know what? I'm probably not going to read this one, simply because there's already a gigantic pile of Valiant bullshit that I have to sit through, because you guys sent an entire box of nothing but, and a lot of that I keep on looking at going, I don't want to read this. I'm even less interested in reading this because you've sent so much fucking Valiant crap. And, wait a minute, yeah, and right here is the card. 90s month, yes, Turok Dinosaur Hunter, which is from Dynamite Entertainment, which wasn't published in the fucking 90s. I'm going to tell you that right the fuck now. Mask Strikes Back, Valiant Masters, which means that there was going to be a different Valiant hardcover for all these ones. Well, at least I got Shadow Man, which is something that Valiant hasn't sent. At least it wasn't like, let's see, Faith, or Harbinger, or Ninjak, or Exo, or any of the other shit that they've sent in the past. At least it was something different, so who knows, I might give it a read out of sheer fucking boredom. But, yeah, this month, not that good. The 90s were just fucking awash with interesting comics. The best you could send us was The Mask Strikes Back. Otherwise, you have one that you sent simply to tie into a fucking movie. Then you sent essentially 2 more Valiant books, and fuck you for sending more goddamn Valiant shit, Bento. I'm getting really sick and fucking tired of Valiant comics. They're not that fucking good. You have deals, right? We all know this. You have deals with Dynamite Entertainment and with, let's see, DC, Marvel, ID fucking W. We don't see enough of that shit. No, because you keep on insisting on shit-shoveling fucking Valiant crap on us. That company sucks. And this reboot, what little of it I have read has been disgustingly hit and miss. And it seems to be falling a little bit more towards miss than hit. Okay? Now, I have to go grab all those books I have to cover, so I'll be back in just a second. Alright, I am back, and I've got the rather large pile of comics I've got to read over the past few weeks. But first, I have to start with this. Nice, crisp $5 bill. Why am I showing you a $5 bill? Because last month, on top of, the rather decent box that month, Comic Bento sent a Rick and Morty trade, which I had zero interest in. I sold it to a coworker. He originally wanted to give it to me for $1, thinking it was only a single issue. When he found out that it was a trade, he handed me $5. So, frankly, I'm happy to have $5 because it's certainly better than anything with the Rick and Morty name on it. Let me just put that back in my fucking wallet. Just wanted to do a little visual aid there. Now, we're going to start off. I just got done talking about the absolute horse shit of Valiant Comics, and this is where it's going to come out in spades. We start off with Rye, Volume 1. This is part of the Rye reboot, or the Rye boot, if we will. Oh god, that was awful. I am so sorry. Anyway, I couldn't finish this thing. It is that fucking boring. If there's anything I can tell you about this book, it is that it has some breathtaking artwork, because everything in here, guys, is hand painted and it looks fucking gorgeous. Unfortunately, when you have gorgeous artwork and writing that is absolutely mind-bendingly boring, and a pace that makes a glacier look like it's in a fucking hurry, your book is in a bad spot. Okay? This thing sucked. I think I got about halfway through it and I just gave up. There was nothing going on. There was nothing of interest. And frankly, going back to when Valiant was part of the 90s boom and before they killed themselves with Deathmate, I didn't even like Rye back then because it was kind of shit. It's obvious that nothing has fucking changed between then and now. So we have that book, and that one I'm probably going to try to sell somewhere. I think I can probably get rid of that one at my local comic shop. But then before that, we got another book from Valiant I sat through, which was Ivar Time Walker, which would have been amazing if it didn't feel like a rehashed Doctor Who story. It felt literally like somebody tried to tell like a Doctor Who story if, instead of using the TARDIS to travel through time and space, the Doctor and whatever companion he has at that time just uses like little time fluxes to bounce around, while other people have portable time fucking machines. The book actually is funny, it's clever, it's good. It's just I couldn't shake the feeling that somebody just watched like 6 hours of fucking Doctor Who and said, I can totally do something like that, and boom, we were given this. It does end on a cliffhanger. I am almost tempted to pick up Volume 2 just because why the fuck not? So at least Valiant gave me one decent book. Unfortunately, they also sent me this thing. In fact, I think both those may have come out of the same box, if memory serves. I think that was that fan favorites month. Our next one was from the music month. They had a month where everything was all musically themed. This one is musically themed because it's written by Tom fucking Morello of Rage Against the Machine. I'm not a fan of the band personally. I find their music to be incredibly fucking try-hardy and shit. And I really wish that I could say that try-hard is a good way to sum up Orchid, but unfortunately it's not. It's lazy. I want you guys to imagine every single cliche and trope from almost every single post-fucking-apocalyptic story out there. I want you to imagine if somebody took elements of Mad Max, Waterworld, The Postman, and like 35 other post-apocalyptic stories and started to just cherry-pick elements from every single one and slammed all of them into a dull, tedious fucking story about pretty much nothing. That is exactly what this is. Morello writes comics almost as bad as he makes fucking music. So, because I'm not a fan of his musical output, I really didn't have the highest of hopes for this thing. So, at least I'm not horrendously disappointed. I'm just kind of disappointed in how shit the book was. Now, the theme here was gnarly 90s. That literally was the theme that Comic Bento gave to it. And this was another property that started out in the 90s, was real big in the 90s, and was rebooted for the new fucking millennium. Behold, Youngblood. focus tested. This is the first volume of Image's new Young Blood series, which I will say it's certainly more focused than Liefeld's original Young Blood comics, but that's not saying much. That is pretty much saying nothing. This book kind of sucks. So I want you guys to imagine, and I know this is going to sound fucking familiar because this is pretty much a story lifted or ripped off directly from a Marvel team, and I can't remember the name of the team. But it's basically a bunch of superheroes. Basically, it's the old members of Youngblood, various members of various incarnations of Youngblood, who are part of a reality TV show. That's literally as far as the interest goes here. Is it's reality TV superheroes. It was stupid when Marvel did it. It's just as stupid when Image does it. There's really not much I can say. Okay. Wow, this next one. I didn't know what to think of this one when I first saw it, and it wasn't that interesting. Behold, Superior Iron Man. So, I'm not a big Iron Man fan in the first place, because I've always found the character to be a massive douchebag, and the comics make no effort at changing that, because he is just a worthless fucking alcoholic loser who doesn't do shit. Well, now imagine if that same alcoholic loser decides he's going to make a new suit utilizing the Venom symbiote. You guys know how the Venom symbiote works, right? It kind of likes to fuck with the host's mind a little bit, and it really has never had a positive influence on anyone who has ever used it. Well, while he's doing that, he also poisons the water. He poisons the water supply in fucking Frisco, so that way everybody has a virus which can only be treated with Tony Stark's new cell phone app, which costs $99 a day to use. No, I'm not fucking joking. The only interesting thing that happened in this book was at one point, Daredevil shows up, because I don't follow a lot of Daredevil, but apparently he moved from Hell's Kitchen to Frisco because fuck you, that's fucking why. And Tony decides to use the virus he dumped in the Frisco water and sort of cures it and shows he can cure Murdoch's blindness. And when Daredevil refuses to go along with him, he not only re-blinds Daredevil, but also mind wipes him, so that way he doesn't know what the fuck happened in here. That's literally the closest thing this entire goddamn book had to a fucking plot. I hated every page of it. It was stupid, it was boring, it was lame. But then again, stupid, boring, and lame has kind of summed up Iron Man for probably about the last 35 goddamn years. Now, I do have a few more books here, but unfortunately I have to cut the camera temporarily, because I know that my camera can only make video files that are so fucking long. Otherwise, it, cuts off and starts its own file, and I don't want it to break me off mid-sentence. So I'll be right back with the last, 4 books. Shit. Wow, guys, I never really thought I'd have to do this many cuts for an episode of What's in the Box, but, well, there's what happens when you read a lot of books over the course of a month. Now, these are all the ones I've already talked about, and like I said, we've got 4 more here, and we're going to start hitting some decent stuff here, because I think I've had almost nothing but negative shit to say about this stuff so far. Well, we're going to continue the slightly negative trend a little bit with the Garbage Pail Kids comic book Puke-tacular. Now, I remember when I did last month's Comic Bento, and I showed interest in this, and I shat all over the Rick and Morty book, somebody left a comment making that sound like it was a fucking sin. Frankly, while I'm happy I never even cracked the cover on the Rick and Morty book, this was kind of what I expected. Well, it's not exactly what I expected from a Garbage Pail Kids book. I'm going to tell you right now. I totally understand that the stickers, which have been popular for years, and fuck, I've always been a fan of the stickers. I even find a little bit of enjoyment watching the Garbage Pail Kids movie. All of those at least had a little bit of substance to them. Even if the substance in question is bodily fluids in the case of the comics, and even if the substance is rather creepy and sort of stupid in the movie, at least that's something. And at least the stickers try to be kind of sort of creative at times. This thing is, how many pages is this? 180 something? No, it's actually only about 115 pages. Holy shit, it's rather short. It's only about 115 pages, but it's 115 pages of nothing but shit jokes, fart jokes, and piss jokes. Maybe about 3 of them are actually funny. This entire thing is a book of complete and total misfires. The one thing I can say is that at least in many cases we have art that is really good, and then we have stories like this last one, which was drawn and written by Sam fucking Keith, who was the creator of the Max, which completely ignores the given art style of the Garbage Pail Kids, which is weird because that was something that they focused on with every other story in here, where you will see a clearly noticeable art style shift, but the characters still look like Garbage Pail Kids characters, and Sam Keith's entry in this just doesn't. And I really, really wish I could say more about this. This book costs $20. It is not worth half that. If you can find this thing for maybe $5 fucking bucks somewhere, by all means pick it up. But at $20, hell no. Just no. No. And I understand, guys, I said that we were going to get into positive stuff, but we have one more negative we have to get through first, and that is Jurassic Strike Force 5, Volume 1. As far as I know, there's never been a Volume 2, and thank fuck for that. I actually looked it up. This is it. Do you guys happen to remember a show from the 80s? Some of you are going to remember this series incredibly well. It was a fucking cartoon, and it was called Dino Saucers. It was about humanoid dinosaur aliens who come to Earth and they fight each other for... Was it for energy? Or it's been quite a while, and I can't find a full episode of Dino Saucers on YouTube where the image isn't horrendously cropped and the series isn't out on DVD. So I'm working off of just base fucking memory. Imagine if somebody took that series and they took that concept and they tried to make it a little bit darker, a little bit edgier, and gave it the most bland dialogue imaginable. This thing, guys, reads like a fucking 1980s It reads like a bad 1980s cartoon. So I'm not talking like Dino Saucers here. This fucker reads with dialogue that would have probably been laughed off as shit like foofer. Okay, this is bad. This is just terrible. The art style is okay, but the characters themselves have almost no personality to speak of. The conflict is just sort of there. There's nothing that really drives you. The only thing that led to me finishing this book was just sheer morbid curiosity. I wanted to see if the story was going to go anywhere. It fucking didn't, but at least I was willing to give it a chance. Once more, this is Jurassic Strike Force 5, Volume 1. There is no Volume 2, and with any fucking luck, there will never be a Volume 2. This thing was shit. Now, last month was a TV month, and we did get one, book, and I was a little bit iffy on it, because it's based on a show I've never watched. And that show was The Blacklist. And after reading this, I really do want to give the Blacklist show a watch. This book was really fucking good. I really, really liked the way that everything here was handled. I went into it with literally zero knowledge of the show outside of the fact that the show exists, and it wound up being really decent. I genuinely had a lot of fun with this thing, and eventually I'm going to watch the first season of The Blacklist, whether it be downloading it off of Amazon Video or purchasing the Blu-ray, or, if I can find episodes on, fucking YouTube. I don't know. If I can find it, I'm going to hopefully give it a watch. The show has, this book has helped spark my interest in the show, which I didn't think was possible. So yeah, this thing here was amazing. If there was any complaint I would have, it is that characters who are based on actors, they seem to be working off of a very limited set of face shots, because you will see characters who I'm going to assume are regulars on the show. Each of them have maybe about 5 or 6 faces total, and they just basically get dumped into whatever panel is there. And that does come off as incredibly lazy, but I will say that the actual story here is fascinating, and it does make me want to watch the show, so that's always awesome. Now, our last book, I didn't really know what to think about this one because it is based on a character I do kind of like, but it's written by somebody who I'm not the biggest fan of, and that is Mark Waid's Green Hornet Volume 1. I'm going to tell you right now, the only Green Hornet anything I read that was published by Dynamite was the first 10 issues, which was an adaptation of Kevin Smith's rejected Green Hornet script, which was fantastic. I fucking loved those 10 issues. I really wish I knew what I did with them. Perhaps maybe if I take a bunch of these shittier books down to my local comic shop, if they've got that thing in trade, or rather in a trade, I will totally buy it, and I'm going to give it another read because it was awesome. But that is me flying way off subject. We're talking about Mark Waid's Green Hornet, which goes back to basics. It goes back to classic green fucking Hornet lore, and I loved it. This thing here was amazing, and I really am tempted to try to find Volume 2 of this because, similar to a couple of these other ones, it does totally end on a cliffhanger, and I want to know where the story goes from here. This thing was amazingly written, and I fucking loved it. It's just, it really, okay, if there were any problems with this, and there are a couple of problems, one issue I have is outside of the Green Hornet and outside of the Green Hornet and Kato, damn near every character looks painfully samey. So when you have characters talking to each other, it oftentimes takes a couple of panels to figure out exactly who the fuck is who, because everybody's got the same goddamn face. Now, that honestly is not the fault of Mark Waid, our writer. That is the fault of the artists involved, and there is also an art shift, I think, between issue 3 and issue 4. It's between issues 3 and 4. The thing is, though, is that the art of Daniel Indro and Roncelin Friere, I don't know if I'm pronouncing those names right, the art style is so friggin' similar that I barely noticed a shift in artist. I barely did, because the both of them have got the same problem of characters who are not our two mains look so painfully similar that you have a bit of a hard time figuring out who the fuck is who until you're about halfway through a scene. But what is here is really good, and if they do happen to change up artists to somebody who maybe knows how to draw faces in Volume 2, that will be fan-fucking-tastic. So yeah, guys, went through all of these, and the only ones I could really say were any good were Blacklist, Green Hornet, and Ivar Time, Walker. But then again, Ivar again felt more like a poor man's Doctor Who than anything else. So I could probably take these 3 out and hang on to them because I'm almost guaranteed to read these again later. All of these, on the other hand, as well as probably a boatload of others, I could probably take right down to my local comic shop and see if they would give me anything in trade for them, because these are in fantastic shape. They actually look brand new, because I try not to bend the spines. So they might be able to give me like a quarter of the cover price or something, and then I can find like a few more books to sort of fill that void. Anyway, so going back to this month's books, I'm looking at them again, and I see Turok, and I see Doctor Strange, and I see Shadow Man, and I see The Mask. The Mask is like the only one I really think was worth it. This month was certainly a fucking letdown from start to finish. Just, it did not feel as good as it could have been, because it kind of feels like they wanted to shoehorn in as much crap from Valiant as possible. And guys, the 90s, there was a lot of amazing shit. I understand I talked about this earlier, but I keep on thinking about it more. And it's like the 90s. We could have had like anything from DC or Marvel involving any of their larger scale events. We could have gotten like the X-Men anniversary arc, what the hell was it called? Fatal Attractions, which I read most of. I think there was like one book in that entire run I missed. And I loved how that thing was written. That was awesome. I would love a trade of that. I'm probably going to have to go out and buy one now, because I've been kind of reminded of it, because while Comic Bento apparently doesn't know what good 90s comics are, save for one obvious exception, I do, because I got heavily into comics in the 90s. I mean, granted, I started in the 80s, because, you know, I was sort of raised on Batman and Sergeant fucking Rock, but still, you know, I'm able to kind of, you know, look at the 90s, and I see a lot of interesting stuff that, guys, there was a fucking story arc in Captain America in the 90s where Cap becomes where he becomes a werewolf. The story arc was called Of Wolf and Man. I read that thing once and I thought it was pretty solid. And they gave that out as part of like a mega like a mega box to tie into the animals month from a couple months ago. It would have been better if it was done in here, because at least that story's good. Oh, but they couldn't, because Captain America's not the one who's getting a movie this month. You're getting a movie soon that goes to Doctor fucking Strange. So might as well strike while that iron is hot. Oh, Jesus Christ. At least though that book will probably be better than the Ant-Man Ash fucking can they sent to tie in with the Ant-Man movie, but that's not saying much. Anyway, I am just rambling, guys, and this video is already retardedly long as it is. So I am going to go and I'm going to go read a couple more of these books, because I see the pile growing more and more every single day. So yeah, I'm going to go jump into some of that, and that is going to do it, guys, for this installment of What's in the Box. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.